Oh shit, we're going live, dude. Oh, we are live. So, I'm like, wow, the YouTube thing hasn't even started yet, but I bet if I refreshed it, an error occurred. Uh-huh. Cute. There, it's going. Okay, it's going. So, hello, everybody. It's Temari here. I wasn't able to be on for the last hour or so of the Naruto review yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. So I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about chapter 700. Yes, that's all I'm going to be chatting about. I just want to kind of go over, stuff from a neutral standpoint since, I'd kind of been reading from a neutral standpoint because I'd always kind of followed the villains a little bit more. So kind of looking at it and, you know, not really looking at any of it for its shipping or any of the nonsense like that, to be honest. I just kind of wanted to go over what I thought about the last chapter. And there's quite a few criticisms to be had. If any of you have been following me on Tumblr, which is zombieconby at tumblr.com, which I guess I'll post a link in the comments at some point. I had quite a few discussions about the last chapter over the course of ever since the chapter went up. But anyways, hold on, let me just adjust. There we go. So I just want to kind of go over some criticism and praise. I mean, praises are, Kishimoto, you did it. You got through 15 years of this manga and you finally were able to end it and you kind of got the ending you wanted. And you did really well with kind of showing us, look how far everybody's come for the most part. Look at Naruto, he's got his family. He's got people to come home to now. He's Hokage after this life dream. He's finally achieved it. All these great things. So, you know what? Good on you, Kishimoto. You did it. Unfortunately, there's also a bunch of criticisms that I wanted to talk about. Mostly, they're pretty much all from a writing standpoint. Like, I mean, I can't really argue on the art stuff. Kishimoto's a pretty awesome artist. But, wow, my mind is going all over the place right now. Trying to think of which criticism I want to start with first. I think there's a couple, like, minor things, like, we don't kind of see where some characters have ended up. Mostly where Team Taka, which is Suigetsu, Karin, and Jugo went. After, gosh, what was the last time we even saw them? They just kind of pulled a, God, they just disappeared off the face of the goddamn planet. That's what happened. It's just like, you kind of want to know where they are in these few years, probably a decade, after the ending of the Ninja World War. And you don't know where they are. You just kind of want to know where the heck these people are, because, why wouldn't you? A lot of people liked these characters. I mean, Karin was a little bit weird, but, I mean, characters like Suigetsu and Jugo were really popular for a while, and then just like, and I'm not the only one. I've seen a lot of people asking where the heck these people went. There's also criticisms on kind of the lack of really showing what the heck's been going on for these last few years. Holy crap, I just got like 3 texts at once. Okay, to the side phone, goodbye. Um, like, everybody's hooked up. There's a weird thing. Like, everybody's hooked up, and we've essentially got the equivalent of a baby boomer generation going on. Like, everybody hooked up, and I'm just like, as nice as it is, you got a lot of people out there who, didn't headcanon. Like, this isn't necessarily about shipping. This is more about, like, every dude's got a wife now and every lady's got some boyfriend. It's just like, I know you guys are from a different culture and you're from way over in Japan where I know this stuff doesn't come up as often, especially in shonen, but at the very least he probably could have left a couple more characters open, if that makes any sense, just to kind of settle people's nerves a little bit, because I mean, almost nobody was. I think we had like Shino, possibly Tenten, and Rock Lee. Gosh. If we're excluding the older characters, I think it might have been just those three that we saw that weren't, hooked up with somebody. And I don't know, I guess I just found that a little odd. But, that's not just me. The thing with Kiba, flirting with the cat girl or whatever was really funny, and then old shaky Akamaru, you feel so bad for him. But, I mean, some of it is really cute, and, you can't help but squeal a little bit at Naruto and Hinata's little baby girl, who's the most precious thing in the world. But, I don't know. I mean, that's one criticism, and that can be taken a bunch of ways. I just figured that they could have left a couple characters a little more open because that gives people with headcanons a little bit more room to work, I guess. But, some of those kids were really cute, though. I mean, I'll give them that. Some of those kids were absolutely adorable. I do not know who Rock Lee's kid is. I still go with the clone facility thing because this is the fourth generation of green jumpsuit wearing like ninjas with shiny black bowl cut hair. There's a clone facility. There's no denying that there's a clone facility at this point. That cannot be Rock Lee's kid, just because that's just how it's been. Aside from Guy and his dad, they were like a generational thing. But who knows? Maybe Guy's dad got the whole idea from some stranger. It just feels like that's how it goes on. But I mean, I'm going aside from the point. I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember some of the other criticisms I had. Oh, seeing more of the kind of jobs that everybody was having. We got a lot of glimpses of what was going on in this chapter, but overall it feels like we needed much longer glimpses of all the characters. Like, we kind of got ideas here and there. Shino's a teacher. Konohamaru's turned into this generation's version of Erika. Kakashi and Guy are a retired married couple. Naruto's Hokage. But it's like, especially with pretty much all of the female characters, we don't get a really good idea of what's going on, where everybody is with their life, aside from being happily married and in peace. I'm just like, I mean, even so, you've got, well, yeah, Tenten with their weapons shop looking absolutely miserable. But, I mean, you still got hospitals to run, you still got, police for, smaller things, not so much large-scale war. You still have to have diplomats for going between the countries, though I guess that's what the Hokage is sort of there for, if you think about it. But it's just like, there are still important jobs out there, and it's not like, I don't know, I just feel like we needed to see a little bit more of what was going on with all of the characters. The last chapter most definitely felt rushed, and a little bit crammed in all of this stuff that really didn't need to be, either didn't need to be crammed in there, or needed a little more. Like, especially with Sakura. We got, like, what, 3-4 panels of Sakura? One of the original Team 7 characters gets, like, 3 or 4 panels of her dusting shelves. Like, I have no problem with her dusting shelves, okay? If she wants to take a break, she wants to clean the house because she lives alone with her probably 9-year-old kid, let her. Don't let the... It's alright if she wants to choose that path. The problem is we don't see if that's ultimately the path that she's chosen, or if that there's more going on. I mean, I like to say that she's the person who runs the hospital now, and, you just have to take a day off every now and then so you can clean the damn house. Because I wouldn't trust a 9-year-old girl to take care of the entire place. I just wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't be able to trust myself as a 9-year-old girl to do that kind of stuff. I still don't trust myself to clean the house. And I'm 19. I mean, like, it's alright if that's what she's chosen, but it's like, people are trying to, like, I've seen a lot of criticisms of the fact that Sakura is a housewife is a major problem, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with taking a break from whatever your life was before to raise a kid. And anybody who says that it's wrong for a character who is that strong and powerful and, ultimately independent to, slow down, settle down, and raise a child, that's horrible. Why would you not want to, like, raising a kid is a lot of work, a lot of patience, and a lot of effort. And people just seem to think, oh, it's just a weak lady thing for people to raise their kids. I'm like, no, dude, no. Don't even fucking start with me. Don't. Sorry. But it's like, I don't know. I can understand why people will be a little bit upset. She did punch a god in the face, for heaven's sake. But people are trying to say she didn't punch a god in the face to stay at home and raise a kid and be forced to raise a kid. I'm just like, I think that's almost exactly why she punched a god in the face. So that she would have the choice to do that. Because, I mean, if she was stuck in the infinite Tsukiyomi, or dead, for that matter, God knows what Kaguya... How do you pronounce her name, Kaguya? I don't even know. I'm just going to call her Crazy Rabbit Goddess. Crazy Rabbit Goddess. But, like, she wanted to put everybody under the infinite Tsukiyomi, so, of course, there'd be peace, but it's basically just putting them in the version of the Matrix. Like, the tree is the Matrix. Let's be honest here. She wanted to stuff everybody into their own little personal matrices and make it so that she can run around la-di-da with all her magical chakra. And the people would be stuck in these dreamlands where, really, they're not in control of what's going on. They might think so, but, I mean, it's all just a dream that they're concocting in their head, and that's just not fair. So she punched a god so that she would have the freedom to choose what she wants to do with her life. Because I don't want to wake up and realize that everything was a dream and I was being forced to dream it the entire time. That would be horrible. And that's probably what a lot of people who got out of that, like, Infinite Tsukiyomi felt. Because, like, holy shit, it was all just a dream. Oh my god, I'm back to my real life now. Some of them might have been a little disappointed, because as we could see, some of them had some really fun ideas of dreams, like Ten-Ten's, where all of her teammates were normal, and not absolutely crazy jumpsuit-wearing, bowl-cut, haircut guys running around punching people. Yeah, but, that's just one of those main criticisms. Like, I see, and oh my gosh, don't get me guys started on the shipping. I don't care too much about who's ended up with who, just because I never really shipped any characters to begin with. By the time I started shipping any of the characters who I was shipping were already dead. So, I mean, I didn't ship any of the main character stuff. I was like, haha, like Naru Sasu, oh, that's cute, Naruhina, oh, Sasu Saku, that's kind of fun, oh, look at that. Naru Saku, all that fun stuff. It's just like, it's all fun, and the art's fun, and a lot of the community can be really nice, but the minute this chapter went out, I lost faith in half of the fandom that ships, just because people have gone haywire, and it's just completely unfair. They've harassed Kishimoto on Twitter to the point that his assistants are typing and posting in English to tell them to leave him alone. And people who keep harassing him and making all these petitions to ban Naruto until their ship happens, you guys should be ashamed of yourself. Like, absolutely ashamed of yourself. But, thoughts. Hold on. There was a couple of other things I had to think about, but, like, it's alright to criticize. There's a lot of really good reasons to criticize the last chapter, but it's petty as fuck to not want to, like, criticize the last chapter because your ship didn't happen. Like, grow the hell up. Your ship didn't happen. Big deal. Like, I can understand the whole thing with, like, especially with the, like, LGBTA community. They have their headcanons. They want some of their characters to be, relate to them a little bit more. So, stuff like that I can understand, where, and that kind of ties into the, oh my gosh, why is everybody hooked up with everybody? There's, like, no room for a lot of people to have their headcanons anymore because of this. But, at the same time, you have to stand back and be like, my ship didn't happen, I officially hate the show, I am not going to regard it as canon, and I'm going to go off into La La Land and make dojins and say, what could have been? Oh, I'm not saying who I'm talking about, but I think a couple of people might have a good idea. But it's like, that's more of a criticism towards the audience that I have, and this is much more a criticism towards the westernized audience. I'm talking about people, yes, in America, in North America, in Europe, Western Europe primarily. It's just kind of really disappointing to see that he poured 15 years out of work. And yes, he's not the best writer. He has he's a good writer. He writes some pretty good stuff, but he's also admitted that he can't write women, and I mean that kind of shows. But it's like, you kind of have to take, a lot of this chapter with a little bit of a grain of salt. Yes, yes, that's exactly who I'm talking about. I'm looking at a chat thing here. But I don't know, the minute you start getting vile and start spewing lava all over this chapter just because your ship didn't happen, it's just like, why? Just accept that in this universe, that's what happened. Have your AUs. That's what that alternate universe stuff is for. Have an AU where Naruto and Sakura hook up. Hell, Road to Ninja is practically that. So, maybe this Naruto did not hook up with who you wanted to, but that doesn't mean you can't draw him hooked up with somebody else and saying it's an AU where he got hooked up with them instead. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and I'm also going to shame the people who are, like, making fun of people who didn't have their ships happen. Don't do that. That's just wrong. But it's like, I don't know. The shipping community's always been really frightening, and I think that's part of the reason I left the fandom for a while, is because I was so sick of all these, like, ship wars that you guys pretty much drove me away. But, when I came back, it was calmer. I kind of stuck more to the Akatsuki, because thank God they were all dead by the time I got back to Naruto. May they all rest in peace, or pieces if you're talking about Hidan. But just, I don't know. Some people can just get so bitter to the point that they're not even going to accept some things as canon, even though it's like written and drawn by Kishimoto. And the movie Naruto the Last, I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen enough, and I've seen people going off about 10 reasons why I'm not going to watch this because I don't accept it. And it's just like, you kind of have to just pay attention. Like, just because your ship didn't happen doesn't mean you get to throw a fit, have a temper tantrum, and continue to have a temper tantrum for months after the chapter's been released. Just go make an AU and enjoy your doujin and just leave the canon stuff alone. Okay, the canon happened. Big deal. You still got AUs, you still got all of your fics, you still got all of your doujins that you can write and draw. It's just, there's no reason to continue to be so vile about it. But, that's just one of those things that really doesn't deserve to be criticized about. Your ship didn't happen, big deal. I don't like Hinata, big deal. I like Hinata. I'm saying that in a... Never mind. But, like, Hinata's a fun character, and I don't think it's fair to really, like, criticize the chapter just because Naruto hooked up with her. Because she is a really, really fun and interesting character who had a lot of character development over the entire series, from the original up all the way to the end. But, overall, the chapter did kind of end on a little bit of a so-so writing standpoint. The art was good. Some of the kids looked a little funny. And Sai's kid was particularly strange. Chocho, or whatever that little girl Choji's daughter is, she's absolutely adorable. I love her. Looks like Kiba hasn't gotten laid yet. Shikamaru and Temari's kid is like a Shikamaru clone, and I'm just like, oh my god. But hey, Gaara is now an uncle. Isn't that adorable? I think that's adorable. But I mean, there's a lot of small things that I think are really nice about this. Just kind of seeing how the entire, like, location has progressed, how technology has progressed, seeing how the characters have aged and changed over the years. Or not changed over the years, as we can see by people like Kiba. But overall, I just think that the writing could have been done a lot better. And we probably should have gotten a little bit, like, it's horrible to say this, but especially when you know how hardworking these characters these writers tend to be. Like, Kishimoto worked his ass off on this thing, for heaven's sake. But, like, there should have been a couple more pages, that's all. Like, just to kind of clarify some things. Because there wasn't enough context, I think would be the right thing here. There wasn't enough context, there wasn't enough information about things that were going on throughout the city. We got a little bit here and there, but we just kind of didn't get enough for things to make sense. And I feel like just with a couple more chapters, or not chapters, wow, no, I'm not going to make him go through all of that. With a couple more pages, I think we probably could have gotten a much better idea of what was going on. And, with a couple more tweaks here and there, the chapter would have been a major success. But, shit happened. The westernized fan base went absolutely apeshit in the worst kind of ways, and again, shame on you guys. And the writing, like I said, could have been a lot better, but what it is what it is, and we just kind of have to take the ending for what it is, but notice and pay attention and accept that there are genuine problems to this last chapter. And, there are some good things, and the ending of the manga has been a long time coming, and we've all been waiting for it, and we've all been, thinking, oh, thank God, it's over, he's finally made it. He finally gets to maybe take a break, although it looks like that he's going to be doing some epilogue chapters written by one of his assistants, but he's doing the art. So it looks like his work's not done yet. This was officially announced on one of the Twitters. I forget which one, but it was a Japanese Twitter that had picture proof and shit like that. But I'll try and find the information on that later. Why do you want me to notice you, Gara? Why? I see you. He's talking to me in the chat. Anyways. Honestly, I think that's a lot of what I had to go over as far as what the ending. I'm checking to see kind of more of what I was talking about in this whole ordeal. Because the ending of the chapter really brought up a lot of genuine criticisms, and I was able to have really good, solid discussions with people about what was going on, and, what I thought. I'm just trying to find some of the stuff I talked about. Oh yeah, no, I pretty much covered pretty much everything I was talking about. Although there are some things there's, again, some small things, like I said, where's Team Taka? What happened to the Rain Village after Conan died? Because I kind of want to know. And here's one that I forgot to address was, so we've seen kind of throughout the series that there's been this really massive, we could almost pretty much call it a systematic oppression of the Uchiha clan to the point that they were massacred so that there was only 3, 4 of them left alive, possibly more now that Sasuke's gotten laid. We don't know about little Salad Uchiha yet, but and there's that, and then there's this deep-rooted corruption within the politics of Konoha, the village elders, Danzo, people like that. And the second Hokage wasn't exactly a great dude. He was the one who was a complete dick to the Uchihas to start. He's the one who created that interrogation force or whatever that's so hardcore and absolutely terrifying. He was kind of an asshole, but it's these things needed to be addressed, I think, a little bit more, and they didn't. Sasuke was like, okay, I'm sorry that I almost destroyed the village or wanted to destroy the village and murder every single one of the Kages and kill Naruto. I almost killed all 3 of you multiple times. Ha ha ha, I'm just gonna go wander the world for a little bit so I can make up for all my mistakes. Which looks like 10 years he's still doing, which, good. He should be out there for, I think, another decade or so, because he's got a lot to make up for. He was quite a brat. But, what was I gonna say? It's just I feel like it should have been addressed more. Instead of him just being like, I'm sorry, you know what, I'll just take all the blame for everything ever and leave. Don't give me I'm not gonna take any punishment, because you guys are obviously not gonna punish me for being a total asshat, so I'm just gonna go, goodbye. And that was another one of those strange things, but that's more of a Chapter 699 criticism. But it's that's something that I think definitely should have been addressed as well, but it didn't. But, oh well. I guess that kind of is left up to us, the fans, the writers, the headcanoners, the people who draw, the people who animate, the people who make AMVs, It's up to us now to kind of fill in the blanks. which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You just have to remember is, even with all of these criticisms, as long as we acknowledge that they're there and we don't just completely ignore them, then it's still possible to enjoy this ending to this 15-year-old series. Because it's over now. It's up to us now to continue it if we want to. And I think that's something that we should really consider as something, that we can do. It's up to us now, and that's probably the most important thing. There are genuine criticisms in this last chapter, but oh, will you stop? He's still chatting in the side thing, but overall, like, you just kind of have to take this last chapter, like I said, with a grain of salt. You have to acknowledge that there are genuine things that are not great about it, and that there are definite bad writing. There's some bad writing in there, and some okay-ish writing, and a little bit of good writing, but it was just kind of an average, slightly lackluster chapter as far as writing went. Drawing and art was really good. I mean, he did the whole thing in color, and that's all like traditional Scandian art and everything, so it's like, that's impressive stuff. So, I mean, you just kind of have to really analyze and critically think about the last chapter. And, understand that even though there's all these kind of not so great things, that it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to give up on the show. We have to remember we still have all the other 699 chapters to read. We still have all of the episodes to rewatch, all of the amazing fight scenes, all of those touching moments. We've got literally 15 years of material to work on now. And we're going to get a little bit more, just not written by Kishimoto, but drawn by him. So, it's by an assistant. So if Kishimoto is saying it's okay and drawing it, it's pretty much canon. So, you just kind of have to look back and realize maybe this last chapter wasn't so great, but overall this was a really amazing journey to kind of read through. And I think that's something we should really take away from this series as a whole. There was a lot of really important messages that we, a lot about independence and relying on friends and not, going on a lone wolf crusade, because that's not ever going to get you anywhere. And, love, friendship, bonds, stuff like that. It's just, I think that this last chapter could have been a lot better, and like I've been talking about, there's a lot of things that are definitely not okay and definitely should be addressed. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't enjoy the series as a whole and give up just because of one chapter, that we can essentially just say, okay, that happened, it kind of was disappointing, but the series was still great. And I really enjoyed these characters, and I'm never going to stop loving these characters. And even if people didn't end up with who I wanted them to, I still have the power to draw, to write, to voice act if you wanted to do a radio show, for God's sake, of just your AUs and your headcanons and all this stuff. I mean, you still have the power to do all these things, because that's what you have as fans. You have that power. So I think overall, this chapter was kind of a bit of a lackluster end to the series, but it still caps off the entire thing and still kind of wraps things up, maybe a little too neat, but definitely in a way that's, after a while, as long as you can kind of accept the criticisms, you can be satisfied with as a whole. And honestly, I think that's pretty much all I really have to say about this last chapter. So I'm glad you guys tuned in and, listened to me rant for God knows how long now. How long have I been ranting for? God, half an hour. So I'm glad you guys tuned in, listen to me talk about this for a whole half hour. And, thank you. So, go out and go enjoy the chapters, go enjoy all of Naruto, go enjoy your characters and your headcanons and your art and the fan art and movies. Don't give up just because of one chapter.